Hey guys, and welcome back to Real Time JC, Real Time Jesus with me, Stephanie. Today is episode 21, and the title of today's devotion is Zechariah's Unbelief, Trusting God When You Can't See. First, I wanted to take a second and welcome to all of those who have pressed play for the very first time. I'm so glad you did. You have found this channel on I guess it could be any day of the week, but on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I record and film in real time following my date with Jesus right here from my bedroom in Surprise, Arizona. And all of the things, like you are receiving authentically all of the things that God is helping me grow in, all the things that I'm learning, downloaded from the Holy Spirit out directly to you. So glad that you press play. Don't forget to subscribe and share this channel with your friends. So we are going to dig in today to episode 21, Zechariah's Unbelief, Trusting God When You Can't See. I have a couple of questions to start it out for you today. Question number one, do you say you trust God and then follow it up with a sigh, or you walk around in heaviness? Is that you? Question number two, do you long for a circumstance or situation in your life to resolve with maybe restoration, with care, with love, and you've been praying about it and you're just not seeing it happen that way? You're seeing just the opposite. Is that you? Or number three, have you prayed for something to come to pass, for your prayer to be answered for so long? And then God finally, after many seasons of prayer, it could be like a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 10 years, it could be many years. He finally gives you confirmation that it's about to be answered. And then you doubt him. You don't believe it. Is that you? Well, if any of these are you, or you can relate with any of these, then this episode is definitely for you too. We're going to dig into the story of Zechariah today. Zechariah, guys, this is good, because Zechariah was a priest in the time right before Jesus. So as Jesus was born, he was alive. And scholars estimated at that time there were about 18,000 priests serving in Jerusalem. And there weren't enough temple duties for all of them to serve at the very same time. So back in the day of King David, he divided the priests into 24 courses, and Zechariah's course was the 8th. Each division, I'm going to try to explain this to you to help you understand a little bit of the backstory of Zechariah at the time. Each division served 2 one-week periods a year, and their ministries were chosen by lot, which is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. With that kind of a schedule, it would have been easy for Zechariah to just get caught in the system and take his ministry for granted, because it felt like it wasn't intentional ministry. It was just like, okay, and you're up, Zechariah. So it was kind of a different way to serve in ministry. But that did not happen. Zechariah was not like the careless priest described by Malachi in the first chapter of his book back in Malachi. And we're gonna talk about that here in a few weeks. Malachi, the book of Malachi. We're gonna study that together. Zechariah and his wife prayed faithfully at home, and he was prepared to pray at the temple. So this was quite an honor for Zechariah. So what he wasn't prepared for was the sudden appearance of an angel to answer a lifelong prayer. So this is pretty crazy, guys, because I don't think anybody would be prepared for an angel just to show up and just like deliver them an answer to a lifelong prayer. This is not normal. This just doesn't happen in the everyday world. But let's continue. Each day before the morning and the evening sacrifices, the priests would burn incense at the golden altar of the holy place. And you can find that in Exodus 31-8, where it talks about the burning of the incense, the fragrant burning incense. It was like a picture of devout prayer ascending to God from the people who were worshiping him, which is really beautiful. So Zechariah and Elizabeth did not have any children of their own, and they had been praying for a child. in all of their married life. And now, if you can imagine, this had been going on, these prayers had been going on for a very, very long time, and they were too old by the standards of human biology. Imagine them just being retired folks that would normally be, a woman would be past her prime and having a child. And so they pretty much just kind of were like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to have a son. God hasn't answered this prayer. And for a reason. It's not like Zechariah was discouraged in that, but he was just like, it's not going to happen. So when the angel appeared to him and announced that they would have a son, and not just any son, the son would be a forerunner to the coming Messiah, to Jesus. The son was the John the Baptist. Zechariah did not believe it. The angel said, nothing is impossible with God. Just like Abraham and Sarah had a child when they were super old. And to all of those who are watching this video right now and you are in your 80s or 90s, forgive me. But that may be considered, a body might be considered old by biological standards by that time to have a child. But forgive me, I didn't mean to offend you. But nothing is impossible with God. Okay, so the cool thing is if we just stop right there and just think about that scenario, and we know by looking back in the historical text, in the Bible itself, that actually happened. The angel came to Zechariah, told Zechariah that his wife was going to give birth to a son, and not even if it wasn't John the Baptist, a son. It was John the Baptist, which was extra amazing. And we know that the son was actually born in their old age. That's pretty cool. I mean, that is a miracle. And we can just by that attest to that nothing is impossible for God. How beautiful is that? But I wanted to encourage you just from that to never stop praying, because God often sends answers when we least expect him to. And for instance, there's a couple of examples I have here. Moses was routinely tending his father-in-law's sheep when God called him to lead Israel out of Egypt. Unexpected. Peter, Andrew, James, and John were managing their fishing business when Jesus called them to follow him. Unexpected. Matthew was collecting taxes for the Roman government. Ooh, very unexpected. Paul and Silas were sharing in a worship service in Antioch when the Spirit called them to become missionaries. Unexpected. The Lord likes to surprise us. So be on alert. Okay, let's continue. So you would have expected Zechariah to be a man of great faith. He was a priest, obviously. He lived his whole life in servanthood to God, to minister to people. But he must have forgotten about the miraculous birth before of Abraham and Sarah, because when it came to learning that he was going to have his son, he was his heart was happy, but he did not believe it for himself. He was totally in unbelief. He questioned God's word. So the Lord, what did he do to Zechariah? He silenced him. And that's where I want to take you. I want to take you and dig a little bit deeper into the end of the story with Habakkuk. So let's go to Habakkuk real quick. I know we had talked about this in a couple of our other episodes about a little bit of Habakkuk's story. And this pertains to our question number 2. Do you long for a circumstance or situation in your life to resolve with care, restoration, love, but are seeing the opposite? Habakkuk was a man of God. He was a prophet, and he was seeing his nation of Israel go down the path of destruction. And he prayed for God to deliver them from this. But God did not do that. He chose to not deliver them from the path of destruction, because what he was doing was he was using this work to help the Israelites understand their need for God, in a sense. And what the cool thing was after Habakkuk wrestled with God in this, where he called out to God, like, please, I love these people. In fact, God sent the Babylonians in to cause even more destruction. And so Habakkuk knew by God's plan of this Babylonian nation coming in to cause more destruction, in order for the Israelites to turn back to God, Habakkuk knew that some of his even friends, family members possibly, that he knew, people close to him, would possibly die during this moment. Yet, after he was assured that the people would, in fact, at one point come back to and know God again, he tells God that he will trust him no matter what happens. And I don't know, guys. I think that is a very, very, very hard thing to really grasp and then to really do, like to actually carry that out in our lives. I think a lot of us will say, okay, I am going to wait patiently on you, Lord. And then we start depending on our feelings when the circumstances start to go awry. And we start doubting. It's not even a sudden doubt. It's like I'm doubting. Intentionally, I'm doubting because what you told me was going to happen, what you've promised me, that you're going to restore this relationship, that you're going to this prayer that I've been praying for will come to pass. It's I guess you forgot about me. I mean, I think we tend to depend on our feelings a lot. Not all of us, but some of us do, instead of really, really grasping that a lot of times God is working things out in ways that we can't see. It's like we can't see. So imagine like being a coach up in the press box, and you can see all the way around the field, and you can see what all the players on both opposing teams are doing. But when you're a player on the field, you can't see the whole picture. God is like the coach in the press box. So he may call a play, and you're on the field going, I don't understand that. And you may start to doubt like that your coach really has your back or really seeing the big picture. But then maybe another player comes up and is like, hey, he reminds you, hey dude, like the coach is up in the press box. He can see everything around. So just trust in him. He knows what he's doing. So think of it like that. Habakkuk realized, he was that guy who realized that, yes, you're right, God. I see you up. I don't know where that thumbs up comes, but it keeps coming. I don't know. But yeah, thumbs up. He sees God. He sees the big picture. So I wanted to just talk about faith a little bit for a second. One of the marks of faith is a willingness to wait patiently for the Lord to work. Patiently. There's a common theme here with the story of Zechariah and Habakkuk and what Habakkuk learned during this time in the way that he was trusting God. And that is patiently. Patience, stillness, quietness. The Lord literally took Zechariah's voice and his hearing away from him at the time because he wanted Zechariah to focus fully on God and trust in God and to relearn to trust in him and trust in his promises. It says in Isaiah 28:16, whoever believes will not act hastily. Beautiful, beautiful. In fact, an example of that is Abraham when he learned that lesson the hard way when he married Hagar and fathered Ishmael. And that talks about that in Genesis 16. He didn't wait. He didn't wait for Sarah. And so did Moses when he tried to deliver the Jews by his own hand in Exodus 2. It tells us also in Isaiah 30:15, in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. That is so, so good. So Habakkuk could quietly, and that's the key, quietly wait because he knew that God was at work in the world. And he had prayed that God's work would be kept alive and strong. So when you know that God is working in your life, You can afford to wait quietly, stilly, patiently, and let him have his way. Also, though, it tells us in Habakkuk 2:3 that God had commanded him to wait. And I think a lot of times we think like God's commandments are there as, yes, as boundaries, yes, to protect us, but to command us. And that is not the case. Think of it like this. God's commandments are actually enablements. Let me say that again. God's commandments are God's enablements. No matter what we see and no matter how we feel, we must depend on God's promises and not allow ourselves to fall apart. And in Psalms 37:7, it says, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. So on episode 21's title, Zechariah's Unbelief, Trusting When You Can't See. How do we do that? How do we do that? In the book Be Amazed by Warren Wiersbe, he says it like this. Over the years, I've often leaned on 3 verses that have helped me wait patiently on the Lord. Stand still, Exodus 14:13. Sit still, Ruth 3:18. And be still, Psalms 46:10. Whenever we find ourselves getting churned up within, we can be sure that we need to stop, pray, and wait on the Lord before we do some stupid thing. I love that so much. The Lord silenced Zechariah. The Lord took away Zechariah's hearing. And later on, he restores it. When people were asking what Zechariah's the name of his son was going to be, most people thought it would be Zechariah. He would be named after his father. And people were very, very excited for them. But when Zechariah wrote the name John, the Lord gave him back his hearing and his voice. And he rejoiced in the Lord. He rejoiced in the Lord. And he learned. And God stills us a lot of times in order for us to learn. And remember, God's commandments are also God's enablements. He is God, and you are not. And that may sound harsh, but guys, it's just the facts, man. And what it means is he can do what I can't. He can do what you can't. He can do things that you haven't ever even considered. And literally, it's not your duty, it's not my duty to fix everything and everyone. If we truly believe that he's God, then let him be God for you. God, let you be God for me. Let you be the miracle working God that you say you are. Man, it's just incredible who he is. And when we're fully trusting him, then the fear, I know fear comes along, but you can say with absolute confidence and a smile on your face, when you are really trusting him, that God will take care of it, and then just walk away. And the last thing I wanted to say is Proverbs 3:5-7. Trust in the Lord completely. Do not rely on your own opinions. With all your heart, rely on him to guide you, and he will lead you in every decision you make. Become intimate with him in whatever you do, and he will lead you wherever you go. Don't think for a moment that you know it all, for wisdom comes when you adore him with undivided devotion and avoid everything that's wrong. So I'm praying for you guys today. I'm praying for you today to know who God is and to fully trust him. And don't forget to sit still, stand still, and be still. Have a good day. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you for the next one. Bye, guys.